Grib 400.
He loves that, didn't he?
Logan Waterfront in Bloemfontein and the countdown to the 2000 Mountain Trial. Round 6 of the MSA South African Rally Championship is underway. Run over 2 days, the Mountain Trial featured 4 special stages in and around the Free State capital before moving to the mountains of the Eastern Cape for Day 2 action. Going into the Mountain Trial, an interesting situation at the top of the championship. Among the drivers, Toyota pair Etienne Lawrence and Serge Damso led reigning South African champion Jan Havoc, with Robert Paisley topping the co-drivers leaderboard ahead of Douglas Judd and Guy Hodgson. Only 4 points separated Lawrence and Damso, with the situation vindicating Toyota's decision to withdraw from the Premier A8 class category and campaign in the less expensive A6.
Yeah, it's very close at the moment between Etienne and myself, but you know, we'll take it as per rally. And as we started the season, you know, never in mind of the championship. So 3 more events to go, and we'll just take it as it comes.
In the Group N category, Dean Saunders and Graham Hooper led reigning drivers champion Hannes Krobler and Brian Duncan, with the Nissan Sentra pair that meet in a Toyota sandwich. The highly experienced Krobler is a former South African rally champion and a previous winner of the high-speed mountain trial. Saunders is the son of former factory driver Eric Saunders and was under no illusions about the task that lay ahead.
Well, look, Sentra's always been quicker on the higher speed roads, and Hannes really enjoys this rally, so we're going to to try and beat him here is going to be a hell of a task, you know. We'll see what we can do in the beginning. But as far as the roads go, I think if we just finish 1 place behind him on this one, I'll be very happy.
Pace notes form an important part of the mountain trial, with Sasol VW co-drivers Cindy Harding and Mike Burrows comparing their notes. For another Sasol VW crew, reigning South African champions Havoc and Judd, the mountain trial was going to be a test of character.
Yeah, our main pressure at this stage is obviously to secure maximum points for the championship, because we at the moment on a slight disadvantage to the other guys. So we've got to get maximum points. I mean, there's no other option to keep our championship points alive. And you know, we'll have to see what the other guys do. Maybe they might not have as much luck as they've had in the past.
Depending on your point of view, the mountain trial is either a co-driver's nightmare or an event where navigational skills reach a different level. Because it is mainly run on public roads, it's a high-speed affair, where pace notes play a crucial role on an event that is unique in South African rallying.
This is a completely different event to 6 of the other rallies in this country where we use pace notes. It allows us to go over the route before the event. We make a very, very detailed description of every bump, every bend, every dip, every jump. So the navigator on this rally comes into his own. He actually guides the driver. He almost becomes, I would say, the driver's eyes. The driver will drive on what he hears, not necessarily on what he sees, because I, as the navigator, know what's after the big crest. So I can say, listen, this crest is flat out, because there's a straight after it. Whereas on blind rallies, the driver would have to tap off because he doesn't know what's over it. So I believe on this rally, the navigator, a good navigator, comes into his own. Excellent fun.
Rallying is a sport which at any level calls for teamwork and complete understanding between driver and co-driver. Working with pace notes increases the level of cooperation, but drivers, like championship leader Etienne Lawrence, are in favour of the system.
With the smaller cars, it's nice to have a pace note, because you can keep the momentum going, and that's important in getting good times. The long straights and things obviously suit the A8 cars, you know, but I like pace notes. Robert's very good with them, and we seem to click well with it. So last year we did some good times with the old A8 car versus Yanni and Serge, and I think this one is going to be the same.
For Group N champion Hannes Krobler, the mountain trial was also a watershed event in his 2000 rally campaign.
Dean is ahead of us still on the Group N championship. We definitely still in Group N. We wanted to change to A7, but we decided to try and win definitely the Class N3 championship for this year. Maybe try to win the Group N championship overall, and that's why we're still running our Group N car. But Dean is still ahead of us, and we'll see on this rally what's going to happen. After this event, we'll probably decide if we're going to go A7 or stay in Group N and see if we can try and win the Group N championship towards the end of the year.
From the start at the Loch Logan waterfront, crews headed for the old Brandkop race circuit on the outskirts of Bloemfontein for the first special stage. Brandkop was one of the most popular circuits in South Africa in the 60s and early 70s, and although a little dusty and overgrown, is still in remarkably good shape. The final stage of the day was also scheduled for Brandkop, handing the faster and more powerful Class A8 cars an early advantage. There was little doubt that the battle up front would be fought out between Jan Habak and Douglas Judd, and Tjaart van der Walt and Cindy Harding in the Sasol VW Golfs running in Class A8, and the Class A6 Toyota Corollas of Serge Damso and Guy Hodgson, and the Lawrence Paisley combination. They were the class horses of the field, with Group N contenders Hannes Krobler and Brian Duncan likely to become embroiled in battles with the Class A7 and slower Class A6 entries. Class A7 championship leaders Tony Ball and Monty Oliveira in the Bulwer Park VW Golf were looking to consolidate their lead, and a great deal of interest also centred around the Class N2 scrap between the Toyota Corolla crews of Dean Saunders and Graham Hooper and Quibus Russ and Neil Faree in the SALive.com car. Veterans Jeff Mortimer and Gerry Gericke in the Sasol Nissan Sentra are hugely experienced, and we're looking for this asset to work in their favour over the weekend. Between the Brandkop special stages were two short gravel stages, which added a little variety to the brief day one proceedings. Reigning champions Jan Habak and Doug Judd were into the early lead after the first Brandkop stage, but the Sasol VW Golf pair and the other front-runners were biding their time. The real rally would start on day two in the mountains in the Berkeley East area. The Toyota dealer team pair of Serge Damso and Guy Hodgson had fallen behind the two factory Sasol Golfs after stage one, but from a tactical point of view would be content to keep the day one gap to manageable proportions. With crews forced to drop one score at the end of the season, Damso was in a powerful position in the championship, with a second and a couple of thirds over the three remaining events, enough to give him the championship. Although leading the championship, the points position was a little misleading where Etienne Lawrence and Robert Paisley were concerned. Jan Habak and Doug Judd and Damso and Hodgson had already dropped 0 scores through non-finishes, but Lawrence and Paisley still had to drop a 4th place, that on the Tour Natal. On the credit side for the team total pair, another non-finish for either Habak and Judd or Damso and Hodgson would be disastrous. The dropped points situation brings into play all sorts of calculations, and with the championship issue in a state of flux, there was plenty of pressure on the leading contenders. Adding to the permutations is the role other crews can play in title chases, and the Sasol VW team were looking to Tjaart van der Walt and Cindy Harding to run a little interference where the Toyota Challenge was concerned. Now out in the ex-Habak-Judd VW Golf kit car, the former Class A7 champions made an indifferent start to the season, but have bounced back to form. A trio of young local enthusiasts carried out a little impromptu roadworks before the arrival on the scene of Hannes Krobler and Brian Duncan in the Total Bridgestone Nissan Sentra. The pair were in the early lead in the Group N category and Class N3, with the Mountain Trial an important event in the developing battle in the overall Group N championship. Krobler and Duncan were closing in on Group N and Class N2 championship leaders Dean Saunders and Graham Hooper, and were candidates for another top 10 finish. The ubiquitous Krobler was returning to a battleground that in days gone by saw the former South African rally champion win the Mountain Trial in the era of high-speed turbocharged machinery. A Group N car is a far cry from those yesteryear monsters, but Krobler just keeps rolling on, and Saunders and Hooper were struggling with a sick engine, slowing down the team total Toyota pair. Behind them, Johnny Hebel and Errol Finnis had taken the early lead in Class A7 in a Nissan Sentra, with the pair raising a few eyebrows with some impressive performances in their first season of the National Rally Championship. Down in Class N1, reigning champions and current championship leaders Rodney Fasaki and Carolyn Swan were setting the early place in the team total Toyota Taz. Back to Brandkop for the final stage of day one, with crews this time tackling the stage in reverse direction. This was meat and drink for Jan Habak and Douglas Judd, with the Sasol VW factory crew taking full advantage of extra Class A8 power to build on their early lead. Class A7 leaders Johnny Hemmel and Errol Finnis were showing a fair turn of speed in the Nissan Sentra, with local rally enthusiasts loving every minute of the action. Serge Damso and Guy Hodgson were at the front of the Class A6, with the dealer team Toyota pair also running third overall at this stage of proceedings. Hannes Krobler and Brian Duncan were already in among the slower Group A cars, with the pair leading both the Group N category and Class N3. Stars of the future were being royally entertained, with Quibus Russ and Neil Faree snatching the early advantage in Class N2 in the SALive.com Toyota Corolla. Rodney Fasaki and Carolyn Swan were going along at a gentler pace, but still leading Class N1, ahead of Mike and Robin Houghton. And at the end of day one, the two factory Sasol VW Golfs were ahead of the Toyota pair of Damso and Hodgson and Lawrence and Paisley. 2 Group N cars were in the top 10, with the stage set for Day 2 battle in the mountains. The mountain trial provides teams with logistical problems. Long distances between special stages made life difficult for service crews, with Doug Judd and Sasol VW consultant Bernie Mariner running through final service schedules.
If you only have one service van, you'll have a real problem. We've got a few vans and Douglas is just busy sorting the thing out, and we'll have to split them up, and normally they go and follow one another, or sometimes leapfrog. They're going to disappear, not see one another until the lunch stop. And then we'll have 2 chase cars, one with each van as well, just to back them up and just see if there's any problems.
Cape-based Cindy Harding is one of a number of women co-drivers who bring a touch of glamour to the national rally scene. And after a tough day cooped up in a rally car, Harding unwinds by pounding the pavements, with the 2000 mountain trial now moving to the mountain areas around Barkly East and Lady Grey, with Day 2 set to provide plenty of drama.